Sadnam, yogis and yoginis. Hello and welcome. Let's go for number 7. We are doing a different topic today. We're coming out a little bit of, we've been quite pessimistic talking about the mind games and talking about the 7 steps to hell. And now we're gonna, with the last video, we did the 7 steps to heaven, and now we are gonna look at, okay, all these mind games, let's put them behind us and let's move forward. And we're gonna do that talking about a metaphor of the 7 as a house. We're going to talk about it like the house, like the mind being like a house where we live in. And this metaphor can be very useful for a number of reasons. First of all, metaphors are something that the mind really enjoys. So when we talk in metaphors, the mind is more engaged and it understands the concepts better. That's why very often I try to do some drawings or find some similitude with some example in life, and using the metaphor helps for the mind to understand. So that's one thing. Another thing is, even if it's just it sounds like a metaphor, there is a direct relationship between, in this case, the example of the house and how our mind is. So depending how the house is going to reflect us. Not just the mind, actually, because maybe when we go deeper into numbers, we will see that different rooms of the house have a tighter resonance with different areas or different numbers, let's say. So, for example, the numbers 2 and the 8 are very connected to water, just like the second chakra. And so the toilets will be connected to the 2 and the 8. And so when we look at our toilet and we go inside and we check how is it looking, that's going to tell us something about our relationship to the numbers 2 and 8. And of course, we need to have more language about what the numbers are to recognize what's happening in the toilet. So it's difficult to make the parallelism right now, but we can just take it in this way. Let's look at the house. And how your house is how your mind is. So if the house is messy, disorganized, and dirty, there's something about that is reflecting how your mind is. When you want to put your mind in order, a good way to do it is putting things in order in your house. If you have a messy table, it's going to be difficult to concentrate to think when you have many things calling for your attention. That's quite obvious. But there is this reflection, the inside is reflecting in the outside. So that metaphor of using the mind as a house is useful in that way. So we can go to our house and, do whatever we want in our mind to happen. So if we want order in the mind, put order in the house. If you want clean thoughts, have a clean house. If you want inspiring thoughts, have an inspiring house. So this kind of way, we can operate it in this way. And also, it is as outside, it is inside, it is also an idea on reflect how the mind is inside. So I'm going to take that metaphor and think, when we are living in a house, what kind of things happen in the house? What kind of things can we observe? Well, some things that we have in the house, they are purely functional. Like we have them there so that they serve a function. Maybe a chair that you don't really like too much. It doesn't look very beautiful. It kind of doesn't go with the colors in the room, but it's very comfortable. So you're going to use it because it's going to bring you comfort. So some ideas, some thoughts, at the beginning, I need to do this translation of what I'm saying. Then you can do it by yourself as well. So some thoughts, some ideas, some beliefs, something that we have accumulated in the inner house, in the mind, they are going to be like that. So sometimes we have a thought or a belief that is just comfortable, and we are just sticking to it, even if it doesn't go too much in harmony with how we want the mind to be, but it's just very comfortable to fall back into that kind of thought. So this is an interesting reflection. What kind of things do we find? We have the comfortable chair, right? That nobody wants to use. Well, I will use because it's very comfortable, even if it's ugly. What does that mean about those kind of thoughts, right? Or we can have the other opposite as well, something that is purely decorative. A beautiful chair, so inspiring, so beautiful, this how it has been designed, is like the drawing, but then as soon as you sit on it, it's really uncomfortable. You know, these chairs, like maybe they push too much forward and you're not comfortable sitting back. You're like kind of like you cannot find the right position to be in it, and it's just it doesn't serve the function. So the same way, some thoughts, some beliefs, some values, some ideas, we have them because they seem very beautiful, but do they serve a function? How is that belief helping me? How is it helping me in any way? So that's another something that we need to reflect upon. What kind of thoughts do we have in our mind, if they are serving some function or they are decoration? And I think most of the things that we have in the house, they are in these two categories, mostly. Maybe there is something else, maybe you have an idea of something else, you can write in the chat. But we can mostly say, well, I have something because I need it and I have to use it, and I at some points I'm going to use it because I need it, like let's say a kettle or a pot for cooking, and it's not particularly beautiful, you just need it for cooking, okay. And some other things we have them because they are decorating the house. Maybe I don't use biombos too much, but I like this one the way it is and where I put it, and it gives a nice color to the room. I don't really need to separate two spaces, but I like the color of it and whatever. So we keep it for these decorative purposes. And these are the two main reasons why we acquire things. But then there's other things that we have in our house which we don't really remember acquiring them. Something that I don't know, we inherit, right? The old grandpa's clock that is even doing a lot of noise. Clock, 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 clock. Every second is reminding you of its presence, right? And you don't really want a clock. And it's a big clock. It's occupying a lot of space. And it, with this dark brown color, which doesn't really suit this modern space that I'm creating, but it is my grandpa, so I don't want to get rid of it. So in the same way, we have thoughts, we have beliefs in our mind that come from our family, we inherit them, or somebody gave them to us when we were little, and then we don't want to let them go. And then they are there. They are an eyesore, we don't like how they look, and they are bothering us with their sound constantly, but we are some part of us doesn't want to let them go. Maybe we are afraid to lose the connection to the grandfather, or maybe feel that we would shame them by removing it, or that they would feel that, it's like I'm not paying respect to my ancestors or something like that. So whatever it is in us that is like, I'm not going to get rid of that. So and we can detect there already a number of mind games. Probably, if you are paying attention, you can detect some of the mind games that are getting attached to that clock, and it's just bothering us. The thought constantly there, that kind of belief, that kind of value system in your mind that is always there. It comes from, when you were little, you learned it from your parents or your grandparents, and you didn't let it go because of something. You're afraid to let it go for whatever reason. So that's a kind of thing that we accumulate, and it's not serve any function. It's not decorative, and yet we keep it in the house. If in study says, I have a hard time letting go of books for some reason. Oh, yes, that's a wonderful example. Okay, great. So, what are books? Books are generally a source of knowledge, or they can be a source of distraction, like novels, or entertainment. Fun, because we like to read books. So, what happens is we read the book and then we keep it and then we hold it at home. Now, why could that be? Some books can actually be very useful. I'm not saying empty walls, right? I'm not saying empty the house. Some things are going to be useful and maybe not even useful in the sense that they serve a purpose, but sometimes they are just beautiful to have. Some books have have you seen these Buddhist books with the drawings of the gods? And they are quite large books and they are quite beautiful. You can use them to decorate. Or maybe it's a manual that I constantly refer to and I want to go and check every now and then. Can I check in the manual um, some information. I was just now, as I was speaking, I was having a thought that nowadays many people just don't keep books anymore. We keep maybe either audiobooks or we keep PDFs, which we store in the computer. And I think this same metaphor that we are using with the mind and how the mind is like a house, we could do it with a computer and check how our computers look inside. And yeah, I'm losing connection with the microphone. What is that meaning about me? Yeah, right. So I'm trying to reflect upon that. Let's see what's happening. I'm losing my voice or something. I don't know. But yes, so books. We read something, we find it valuable, and then we keep the book. Even if a part of us may know that we will never read that book again, and yet we keep it. Now, why could that be? I think part of us is, one is afraid to let go. One part is afraid to let go, and we can identify here another mind game. Another one is afraid to forget. We keep books because they remind us something. And a part of us may be like, oh, if I forget about this, I may want to have the book to check it again. But then the very fact that we keep the book is sending a signal, a subconscious signal, that I don't need to remember this because I can check again because I have the book, which means that we don't really memorize whatever we are studying. So I have always been very reluctant to take notes, even on good ideas that I'm having. Maybe, I'm going to teach a course on something, and I have some interesting reflections that come to my mind, and then I prepare the course and I deliver the course. And very often I would not take the notes, or I would just throw the notes away and I would improvise. And part of my thinking behind this is, if I write everything down, maybe because I'm afraid to be spontaneous and to think that the moment that I need something is going to be there. The moment that I need that knowledge that I have acquired or that idea that I got is going to be there. And if I'm afraid to not be creative, I'm going to keep all the notes that I have, so that the moment that I need them, I'm going to have the notes myself. No? My library is related to my old job, and I've tried to give some away, but nobody wanted them, so I still hang on to them. I also collect books. My oldest is a dictionary from 1869. Yes. Okay. All right. Good. So. If I am afraid to forget about something, maybe it's something that I learned in the book, or that book represents something about me, like in this case, right? These books represent something that it was your old job. So Infinite Stories is like, this is part of who I was. This is part of me. And maybe I will not use it again. But I don't want to lose that part of myself. All right. Well, we are who we are because of the path that we took to get where we are. We don't need anything to remind us who we are. We are who we are right now. And if we try to get attached to something that was in the past, we are not available to receiving how is that expressing to us today in the present. So getting rid of the old to receive the new, that's like a basic standpoint. If we want to be available for what's coming, we will come into this in a moment, when we go into the future. If we want to be available for what's coming, in a way, we have to stop looking into the past. I think that kind of makes sense. Though, some things from the past will be very valuable. I received, that book that we held from the past, that idea, that belief, that knowledge that I acquired, it can be fundamental for me today and for the future. So having that book in my nightstand is going to be wonderful, because it's like how do you call that? A touchstone, something that you can go back and have as a reference. So in the mind, we hold some thoughts, some beliefs like touchstones, and they are important, and we need to keep them like some sacred books. Do we have a sacred library? And if we don't, can we acquire one? What kind of books are going to be sacred for us? So translating this to our mind, what kind of thoughts in our mind I'm going to hold sacred? They are the books that I'm going to keep in my mind and not let them go. So that's a thing. Some things can be like a memory of something else, like this old dictionary from 1869. That's a collection. Well, we have to see what collections mean. Yeah, what is a collection? What does the collection bring to me, having that collection? Because we collect all sorts of things, and a number of them can be valuable, and then there's a line where we cross and it can become garbage. So how much we are collecting that is valuable and it's useful, and we may enjoy them, and we may enjoy the beauty of an old watch that doesn't work anymore, but it's like a beautiful little... I have a watch from my great-grandfather, I think one of these pocket watches with a chain. I love that one, and I have it in my house. I'm not going to give it away, and that's kind of something that reminds me of my great-grandfather, but it doesn't work. It's not functional. It's just something that is like a memory, yeah, like a point of contact with something that, I have some ancestors behind me. But that watch is there, put somewhere. It's not hanging in front of my window, let's say. Because sometimes we value so much things that maybe they don't have a use. And let's say, some people start to collect old magazines, and then they put them in a drawer. And then the drawer gets full. Then they put them in another drawer. Very soon the other drawer gets full. Now they don't fit in the drawers, they start putting them on the ground. Now imagine I have a pile of old magazines that they start to accumulate. And maybe a part of you thinks, well, maybe someday I will need something from that magazine. And so I don't want to get rid of it. Maybe they are even silly magazines that they are worth nothing, but they are just afraid to let it go. And then they start to accumulate to such an extent that the magazines start to pile in front of the window, and they start to cover the window. Now, I cannot see outside because the magazines are covering the window. This is a real scenario. This is not like some imagined situation. Some people have this syndrome that makes them accumulate things to such an extent. And, maybe when they cover the whole window, you start accumulating magazines in the front of the door because there's no other place to put them. And then at some point, they are so full of magazines in front of your door, you cannot get out through the door anymore. So you are locked in your room with the magazines or books covering the window, covering the door, and you cannot get out anymore. And this is a very, very common thing in the mind. Now, we don't see that much in actual houses. It's an actual syndrome. It's a psychological condition. But in the mind, we do that constantly. We keep the mind accumulated with all sorts of ideas and thoughts and knowledge, things that we take for granted that things are like this, that the world works like this. And we assume it in such a way that they obstruct our view, that they are in front of our window to such a degree that if you want to look out, you cannot look out except behind these ideas. And actually, these ideas are already going to be changing what you perceive through that window. It's like, imagine that you like an idea and you put in a piece of paper and you stick it on the window. Now, whatever light comes through, it will come through that drawing that you did. And, maybe it's a drawing that you enjoy, that you did, and you are proud of, having a certain accomplishment that you managed to get there after a long effort. Some of you will recognize what I'm saying right now as one of the 7 steps to hell. Let me remind you. We are walking the path to hell, and then we fight the game. Yeah, we play the game, we fight the fight, and then we win. And then whatever we win, we attach to this prize, which doesn't really give us happiness, but we get attached to it because this is the proof that we did it. So whatever it is, that you put it on the window, and then that's going to filter everything else that you see beyond through the window. Now, we have been accumulating all these sort of things. So where was I? Welcoming infinity. Hello, Sadnam. As you came in, I lost the sound again. But here we are. So the idea is we are looking at the head, at the mind, like a house. And we live inside the mind like we live inside the house, and we accumulate all these things. And then after a number of years, we don't even remember how the house looked without those things. So sometimes it may be like you have a self-portrait, right? Like a big self-portrait that you put on the wall. And it's an old portrait. It shows how you were. And actually, it wasn't even showing how you were because you did that self-portrait. Nobody painted it for you. I mean, some people may have helped. Maybe your mom or your dad gave some brushstrokes telling you how you are, and you drew it like that, so you take it. And that's how we identify with, I think I am that person. But actually, that's a very old painting, and it doesn't really reflect who I am right now. And so what happens is we don't even realize that we could remove it. And sometimes when somebody comes to Karam Kriya to a consultation, doing a numbers consultation, this is our job as consultants, is to ask questions. And then we ask questions, what would happen if we remove some of those books? What would happen if we move that table to that side? What would happen if we take off that painting? And sometimes incredible things happen as we are reflecting upon that image that we have of ourselves, that self-image, and we ask questions about that. So I think I'm just not good enough to do this. Well, where is that coming from, right? And then you start identifying, well, there is a feeling from the past when I was a child that they would not listen to me because maybe I was the little brother and they didn't. Okay, so there's that feeling of inadequacy. And then you painted it into your portrait and now you're attached to that. Well, what happens if you remove that portrait? And sometimes you find that that portrait was covering a hidden door and it goes into a new room. And suddenly you realize that your house is much bigger than you thought it was. You had been over the years accumulating things and getting in a smaller, more compressed space where you almost have no space to breathe. And some people feel the only way out is to jump out of the window, literally. And there's an alternative. Expand the room, expand the windows. And sometimes by removing all this, you have a bookcase full of books. It's like, well, what happens if I remove the bookcase? And then a door appears. Oh, wait a moment. I didn't know this room was here. And then you can access the new room and it's all this new space and your whole consciousness expands, yeah? Your mind is expanding. It's like, I didn't even know I could do these kind of things. Like expanding the vision, expanding the space, the mental space where we can live in. So this is the process when we are asking questions to somebody, is helping them move the things around to figure out what we can do with this. Does it help, the metaphor? Is it useful in some way? You have to think about what this means, yeah, the metaphor means. Sometimes the room is too dark. Sometimes the room is too bright and we cannot even sleep. And what's happening in my mind? Sometimes I have dark thoughts. Or sometimes it's all looking for the light, and you are blinded. When you look at the sun, then you are blinded. So what are those thoughts? What are those beliefs which are... Living in this house is not a curse. This is a blessing. We have a house. It's good. We are protected from the elements. But how sometimes living through those thoughts, living in this house feels like a curse, feels like, why am I trapped in this place? And it's because, maybe you closed the door, you closed it with stuff, and now you cannot open it anymore. Maybe it's blocked with bookcases. We need to remove them. Sometimes we may even need to tear down a wall. Maybe it's like, I don't want this wall here, and we have the chance to just break it open and expand the space. So this all comes through, it can come through therapy, but it can also come or counseling, yeah? Or it can just come simply from meditating. Yeah, as you are meditating, you are letting go of thoughts, and by letting go of thoughts, you may also let go of these accumulated things that we have in the mind. And so the space can expand. And we can feel like, oh, actually, this is a place that I like. I enjoy this house. I enjoy this room, which is interesting. When I was starting to do live streams, I had to think, well, how are people going to see me? And so I thought, well, one thing about live stream is that they have a window into your house. So in a way, is quite interesting, because it's a window into my mind as well. As I am speaking, right? You are hearing my mind. And I thought, well, I want my house to look beautiful. So I was getting this room ready, and I already liked the room. But then, putting the plant over there with the orange thing behind, and then it kind of helped me to figure out that actually I really like this space. I'm really happy with this space. When I come in here and I am like, you know what? I like my house. I like this room. And when we can say this about our minds, can you imagine to say, I like my mind. I enjoy the kind of thoughts it produces. I like the thing that it has accumulated. And I feel like some of them are really serving me. They are useful. And some of them are quite beautiful. They are a beautiful way to look at the world. And I'm going to nurture them, right? Beauty and function, right? This balance between the both. And if I find something in my mind that is accumulated, is from olden times, from my family or for something, and it doesn't serve a purpose and is not beautiful, can I get rid of it? And this is a good self-reflection to go by yourself. So the title of today's theme was 7 in front, 7 behind. And it's kind of following on this metaphor a little bit. And I'm going to do a drawing for this. But first of all, if you are hearing right now, if you are online, Infinity and Infinite Stories, if you have any comment, how are you hearing this? Is this helpful in some way? Are you connected with the metaphor of the mind as a house? And do you find that you want to do changes in your house after this talk? It's more than a metaphor, it's literal. Our home environment with all their details reflected what's in their mind and vice versa. That's studied in Vastu Shastra and Feng Shui. Could you make a video on it? All right. So Infinity, you came a few minutes late, and I just talked about how that, exactly the same idea, that's like this, and in how our home is a reflection of ourselves. And yes, I would like to do a video on this. However, as I was using the metaphor of the house like our mind, when we look at our real house, together with Feng Shui and so on, it's not just the mind, because our house is the body, is the mind, is the energy, is the emotions, is the spirit, and everything is in the spaces of the house. And we can see, if we want to see how we are in relationship, I gave the example of the toilet. Toilet is water and is cleansing, yeah, it's to clean yourself and to empty yourself, to detoxify. So that's the numbers 2 and the 8, which are numbers which are linked to energy. So if you want to see what's your level of energy, you can see how is your toilet. And by working on the toilet, you have a direct impact on your energy. So this is a very, very interesting, but it requires a little bit more of language of numbers. Again, we are almost finishing number 7. We have to go with a few more points. My initial idea is to do 10 videos on every number. So I think this is number 8. This is video number 8. So we will do 2 more videos on the 7, and then we'll go to the 5. When we go into the 5, we will talk about the 5 spaces of the house we can go, and the 5 pairs of numbers, and we will go into deeper on those different levels. But we can just have a few ideas. That's even more deeper. Yeah. It's interesting. It's like saying, wherever I go to live, I always have problems with water, for example, right? Maybe there's water filtrations, and there's humidity, and there's moisture in the air, or there's some problem with water. Well, water is 2 and 8. And that's going to tell you a lot of things about the 2 and 8. And if you resolve the issues with the 2 and 8 within you, then those issues get resolved in the house. So I often take a look at what's happening in the house to tell me something that is happening in me. I do that constantly. If there is some issue with the house, then that's reflecting something in me. Let's say we don't take the trash too often, and we are lazy about it, and we spend like 5, 6 days, 7 days without throwing the garbage off. And then that starts smelling, and at some point it doesn't fit anymore. So what does that say about the mind, right? So this is examples, and I don't know if I mentioned it in another video, but I utilize the day-to-day things, the day-to-day things that we do in life, like an archetype of living. So if I'm taking out my trash, I'm saying I'm detoxifying, or I'm letting go of old thoughts, or I'm cleaning my emotional mind. So as I'm doing it, I say this to myself. If I'm taking a shower, I mentioned the shower the other day when we were talking about the commitment, right? I said, when I'm taking the cold shower in the morning, I am taking back my life. I take hold of my life. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. When we are raising from bed, is like I'm raising in consciousness. When I'm preparing my meal, I am nurturing myself. I am gathering energy in my body. So as we are doing things in life, we can find the archetype that what it represents and channel it consciously by giving it an emphasis, by saying it. I even say it out loud when I'm alone at home. If somebody was here, they would think I'm crazy, because sometimes I say it like that, especially, the cold shower in the morning. I say, I'm taken by my life. I take back my life, from the demons and the monsters who are trying to grab me from the subconscious. I'm not going to let them do it. Cold shower for me, I take back my life. And I do it. I say it out loud, and it feels so good. Wake up in the morning and say something like this. It's not an affirmation anymore. It's not just something that you say to affirm. This is powerful. This is like a mantra almost. These words have power. If I'm combing my hair, I'm putting order in my thoughts, right? Hair represents thoughts. If I'm going to grab a bus, I'm grabbing opportunities to go where I have to go. You can do this in anything. Right? Anything. I'm opening the door in my house. I'm exploring the possibilities, the freedom, right? You can do this in anything that you are doing. And it's a game which the mind loves to play. Rather than letting the mind play mind games, you can play this different game and utilize everything that we are doing it, reframe it, give it meaning, and that's pushing you towards your mission. Yeah, you are like, this is my mission. How can I nurture myself towards the mission? So this very same thing that of what you do in life, this can be reflected in the house. So every space of the house, it can be, okay, how is my living room? How is my bedroom? The bedroom is 1 and 9, is the relaxation, is the unconscious, is when we go to sleep. So is my bedroom a place where I feel that I can rest in peace, where I can go and find peace in it? And we recommend, when we do authentic relationships module level 2, we talk to students. We say, if you are with a couple and let's say you sense that you're going to go into an argument and you are in bed, don't do it in bed. Ask to go outside, go to the kitchen or the living room or wherever you have to go. Probably the living room is better. Prepare a cup of tea, sit down outside and deal with the issue outside. Don't deal with it in bed, because then the energy is just perturbed in some way. In the bedroom is to sleep and relaxation and to have intimacy and connection. So that's a place for that kind of energy. And if we bring things from the outside to that, if your bedroom is full of books, I understand, when I was younger, I used to share flats with many people, and, I would have one room for myself. So of course your room has the desk and the bed, and it has everything in it, so you cannot compartmentalize. But still, you can create little areas, right? This is, even when I was living in one room, I would have the area with the desk where I work, the area with the bed, and I had a kind of like a biombo, and this is another area for my yoga, and it would be the sacred space with an altar. So you can create those spaces even when you have one room, but if you have a whole house, then you can dedicate those spaces specifically for that. No? Infinity says, I also experience this holistic way of thinking and perception, and you're right, it seems crazy for others since it transcends logic. Yeah, it's not logical, it's magical. This is how numbers affect life, and life is through numbers, right? Numbers through life, life through numbers. There is a magic in there. If we push it, we probably find psychological explanation to why having your room in order is going to make you go to sleep better. But to me, it's something beyond, it's something magical, it's something about the energy of the 1 and the 9 in the bedroom and respecting that energy. And if it doesn't go with that energy, I will avoid it. I will avoid putting that there. This is my office, this is where I work, this is where I prepare my videos. So this is 3 and 7. We will go into numbers more deeply later, right? But I would try to avoid things which are not aligned with that energy in here, in this space, and so on. Yeah. So yes, we went quite in an interesting path about how to relate to our house, and maybe we will explore more about this when we get to the number 5. So we are in this house, in this mental space, and there's things we accumulated we don't even remember, and they are covering the windows, they're covering the doors, and we cannot get out. And what happens with that, we can draw some light on the side. Today we have a big nose. All right, so sometimes the 7 goes in front of us. And this 7, look at this area here. This is where we are looking into the world. Our perception, yeah? So the 7, the mind, with the thoughts, the beliefs, whatever we understand about life, it gets in front of us and is now affecting whatever we want to see, whatever we want to perceive in the world. That's going to be obstructed or changed, filtered, transformed in some way as it crosses through, and then it goes inside. And then whatever we are thinking, these thoughts, they are going to be also like a projector projecting into this mental screen in front of us. So we're going to visualize, we're going to imagine, we're going to live a fantasy that is not true. Something happens, and when we are seeing whatever is happening, we imagine that we see things which are not true. This is very interesting and quite powerful, yeah? How the mind changes our perception according to what we are expecting. So, expectations, fantasies, projection, yeah? There's a lot of mental games that are going to be projecting what we see, what we expect to see into what we see, and so we see it. So this is how the mind games get in front of us and obstruct our view. We've been talking a lot about mind games so far, and we did a little bit on how to get rid of mind games. I proposed taking one at a time and dedicating 40 days or 90 days or 100 days or 1,000 days and say, I'm going to stop being the rescuer of people, or I'm going to stop justifying my actions, or I'm going to stop feeling I'm not good enough or not intelligent enough or not whatever enough, whatever the mind game is, and start working on that. The thing about the mind games is that sometimes when I have students who come in yoga and they ask me for something, they want to change something in their lives, and they are waiting for me to give them some sort of formula, some sort of recipe to fix them in some way. Yeah, they are trying to play upon my own mind game of wanting to be the rescuer, let's say. And it would be very easy to give them some meditation or some kriya or some practice from yoga which can help them. And it's possible it may help them, yeah? But the thing is, mind games are much simpler than this. sometimes we would like to know, look, if I tell you now, look, oh, you feeling, let's say, guilty, right? You feel guilty. Okay. Well, all you have to do is at 8:33 in the morning, eat a banana, spin 3 times, jump up and say, yay. And in 1,000 days, it will be gone. I mean, sometimes it's like, oh, well, at least I have something to do, right? Oh, okay, so if I do that, I'm going to get rid of that feeling. Okay, so great, I have my medicine to take, right? And we are happy to take something from the outside, which maybe we don't even know if it's going to work. I mean, this would definitely not work, right? But well, unless, somebody was so committed to getting rid of the guilt and they associated that, this is the placebo effect, right? They associated it to the event, so they do this to get rid of that. It's just like a way of showing their commitment. But the truth is, the thing is, if you want to get rid of a mind game, it's so much simpler than that. It's really just, I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying it's simple, okay? I'm saying just stop taking it. Stop taking it. The mind produces 1,000 thoughts per second, and we choose to take that thought in and nurture it and savor it and put it in and breathe it in and work something out of it. Maybe we will talk about this process of a thought in a video. Might be interesting to do it here in the level with the number 7. The idea is something comes in, and we allowed the thought to develop. Some thoughts, we get rid of them, but some of them, we allowed them to go inside. And as they go inside, then they have a lot of consequences. So what's the answer? Just don't take it. Just drop it. Just drop it, right? And sometimes we do this example. I cannot do it here because we are online, but in a yoga class, sometimes we do it like this. I'm saying, this is for you, this is for you. And I throw it, right? And then the person goes and catches it. And I say, okay, that's what the mind does. That's what the mind does to you. It says the mind, this thought is for you, and it throws it to you, and you catch it, and then you put it in. Now, I explain this. I explain the idea that we should not hold it. And then I say, okay, to the another person, okay, this is a mind game, okay? It's for you. Don't take it. Don't take it, okay? But it is for you. I'm going to throw it to you, all right? It's for you. Here it is. This is it, the magnet here. For you, eh? Okay. And you would be surprised how many people actually take it. And I'm telling them, don't take it, all right? This is the mind game. Don't take it. And I say the mind game. This is when we have done the exercise and we identified our mind games. And maybe, for that person is belittlement, right? So I said, this is belittlement, okay? You are small, you have no value. Belittlement, okay? It's for you. Don't take it. And I throw it. And how many people actually take it? And they don't want to take it, but they take it. And sometimes we have to do the example 2 or 3 times. And you can see them getting tense and holding, like they do a fist, like holding themselves back not to take it. And when they finally not take it and they see hitting them like that, and how does it feel? I ask them, no, and it's like a part of me wanted to take it. So it's incredible. And the thing is, we try to do externally something that happens internally, because internally we don't realize. The thought comes in and we take it. But this is a good example of how we can just not take it and just drop it. So getting the mind game back. Some mind games, they don't have to throw them to us. We are perpetually holding them like this, really tight in the hand. And slowly, by asking questions, we can slowly, so where is this coming from? So what do you think you get out of that kind of thought? Is that serving you in some way? Is it not serving you in any way? It comes from somewhere else? It's not useful to you? Does it feel, how does it feel? It's toxic to you? Really? It's toxic? And then can you maybe, you can let it go. So sometimes Really asking questions is an art. This is not easy. This is something I'm still working a lot on, right? Finding the right question that you can ask to somebody to help them find this process. I think it's quite interesting, and it's a beautiful path of learning how to ask the right questions. But the idea is this, that we are holding on to these things so tightly. Me too. We all have our own mind games, right? It's good to identify them and, okay, I'm going to work on this year. This is my focus. And we are all, putting emphasis and energy, commitment into what we're working, and then slowly letting the things go. Let it go. Yeah. So this is the path. Now, the first step then is to recognize this is a mind game that is being placed in front of me. It's obstructing me from the view. And then understand that the mind wants to help. The mind is an instrument. It's antakarana. Yeah, it's the inner instrument. It wants to help. It's just you have never tried it to ask it to help you, to serve you, instead of doing what it normally does, which is being in front of us. So there is an alternative. You can clean your mind, you can train your mind, you can awaken your mind. It's actually the 3 minds. We talked about this in the mind course. Cleaning the negative mind, training the positive mind, awakening the neutral mind, and then you get the 7 behind you. I could have done the person much bigger, yeah? It's a little bit small like that. But when the 7 is behind you, first, it's not obstructing your view anymore. You can see in front of you. You can see ahead. You can see where you are going. If you have an idea of what your mission is, it can be projecting you towards your mission. It can be inspiring to get towards your mission. But the mind is here. If you need it, you can lean on it. Yeah, you can lean back. You can lean back on it. You can utilize it. It can serve you when you direct it, when it is not obstructing you. So as we detect the mind games, as we observe this is the things that we are playing, and we are dropping it, yeah, we are letting it go. As we drop it, we can put the 7 behind us and then serving us. This is not a path to walk without mind. We don't say kill the mind or put the mind blank. This is not the objective of the path that I follow. This Kundalini Yoga and other yogas that I have explored, it's not about just killing the mind. I'm not talking about the ego as well, even though it's also not about killing the ego, but it's about how can the mind serve me? How can I put it behind me so that it's not obstructing my view, but actually being a support for myself? And a good way to do this is starting in your own house. Find your house, how you change things, how you can move things around so that they are not an obstruction and they can be serving you in moving forward. This is it. Very simple today. I feel like I'm shorter today than other days. It's less than an hour still. But I think this is the main idea for today. I have nothing else to say. If there is any comment in the chat. But to me, this is the reflection. We will talk more about the house when we get to the different areas of the house with the numbers. We have a few more videos on the 7. I think I will explore the idea of a thought, how a thought affects us, okay, this is interesting, how a thought can affect us and how we can choose to let it happen. Some thoughts are useful, right? So if I have a good idea, a good thought that I want to utilize, that I want to develop, how can I manifest that thought? I have an idea that I want to do something, how can I make it manifest? So yeah, we're going to go there. Next video will be about this, I just decided. So we will see how manifestation of thoughts. Thank you very much for this. Thursday we will do just like a general session, like an open session, not sure about the topic. If anybody has an idea, you can suggest the topics in the chat or in the comments of the videos, and we will explore them on Thursday. Thank you, Infinite Stories. Yeah, thank you, Infinity, as well. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And until next time, Salam.